Lesson 4.4, Parallel and Perpendicular Lines. Let's first work with parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines in the same plane that do not intersect. Lines in the same plane that do not ever touch. The only reason that two lines would never touch is when they have the same slope, when they have the same incline, when they have the same rise over run. Okay, and there's a picture of two parallel lines. I want you to notice how we denote parallel lines. Line AB is parallel to line CD. The reason that they're parallel is because these two lines have the same slope. They have the same incline, exact same slope. They're never going to touch. No matter how far you extend them, those two lines will never intersect. Okay? So what you have to remember more than anything is that parallel lines have the same exact M, the same exact slope, the same exact incline. Okay? All right, let's start with number 1. Write an equation in slope-intercept form. So let's stop for a moment. Let's remember what that means. We want to write an equation that looks like this. Okay? For a line that passes through this point, they give us negative 3, 5, and is parallel to the graph of this equation. So this is what we want to do. We want to write an equation of the line that goes through negative 3, 5 and is parallel to or has the same slope as this equation, y equals 2x minus 4. Well, let's start with what do we need? What do we need to write an equation in slope-intercept form? Well, we need m and we need b. Well, if we're going to write the equation of a line that's parallel to this one, can anyone think what is the slope of that line? Well, the slope of that line is 2. It's m. It's 2. So if the slope of that line is 2 and the line that I want to write has to be parallel to that one, then I know that the slope of my line is also going to be 2. Because parallel lines have the same slope. Okay? See, but my line is going to go through this point. Negative 3, 5. Negative 3, 5. So, I have m, I have x, and I have y. Let me take the slope-intercept form of this equation, y equals mx plus b. Let's substitute 5 for y, 2 for m, negative 3 for x, so that we can solve for b. Okay, here we go. 5 equals negative 6 plus b. Let's add 6 on both sides, and 11 equals b, so b equals 11. So now that I have m and b, I can write my parallel lines equation. Y equals 2x plus 11. Okay, just very quickly to review. I want to write the equation of a line that goes through negative 3, 5 and is parallel to the graph of the equation that I've been given, y equals 2x minus 4. If my line is going to be parallel to this line, it must have the same exact slope, because we learned that parallel lines have the same slope. So I go ahead and know that m is equal to 2 for my line. I need b. So I use the point and the slope to solve for b, and then I can write my equation. Okay, let's look at number 2 and let's do it together. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through 4, -1. So my line has to go through 4, -1 and is parallel to the graph of this equation, y equals 1/4 x plus 7. Right, so the first thing that I have to figure out is, what do I need to write an equation in slope-intercept form? Well, I know I need m and I know I need b. I've been given m. The reason that I know what m is because I know that the line I'm going to write is parallel to this one right here. So I know that if they're parallel, they have the same exact slope. So I know that m is 1/4. What I have to solve for is b. I don't know what b is. So we're going to use the point that I'm given and m, and we're going to solve for b. So let's do that. -1 equals 1/4 times x, which is 4, plus b. Okay, let's simplify. -1 equals 1 plus b. Let's subtract 1 on both sides. -2 equals b. So b is -2. Well, now that I know m and I know b, writing the equation is easy. Y equals 1/4 x minus 2. And that is a line that goes through 4, -1 and is parallel to the graph of y equals 1/4 x plus 7. Okay, number 3 you're going to do on your own. So pause the video now. Work through this problem. Come back and check your work. All right, the equation is y equals 1/2 x minus 4. Okay, let's move on to perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines. Write down this definition. Perpendicular lines are lines that intersect at right angles. Lines that intersect forming 4 right angles. A perfect example of perpendicular lines are the x and the y axis. Here's what you need to know. You absolutely must know about perpendicular lines. The slopes of perpendicular lines are opposite reciprocals of each other. The slopes of perpendicular lines are opposite reciprocals of each other. All right, I've given you a little graph here, a little diagram of perpendicular lines, and please note how the statement reads. Line AB is perpendicular to line EF. Okay, so the slopes of perpendicular lines are opposite reciprocals of each other. What does that mean? Well, here we go. Opposite reciprocals are two numbers that have a product of -1. Two numbers that when you multiply them together, their product is -1. Here you see that A over B and -b over A are opposite reciprocals, because when we multiply these, your product is -1. Let's practice finding opposite reciprocals. Here we go. Find the opposite reciprocal of the given number. The number 2. The opposite reciprocal of 2 would be -1/2. So it's the opposite reciprocal. 2 is positive, so my opposite reciprocal will be negative. 2 is 2 over 1, So I have to flip the numerator and denominator to find the reciprocal, -1/2. Okay. The next one, -6. The opposite reciprocal of -6 is +1/6. -1/4. The opposite reciprocal of -1/4 is +4. Pause the video and do the other two on your own. Okay, check your work. Opposite reciprocals, again, perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals of each other. All right, here we go. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for a line that passes through -4, 6 and is perpendicular to the graph of 2x plus 3y equals 12. Okay, number 4. Here we go. We want to write an equation in slope-intercept form. So, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. That's going to be our goal. In order to write that equation, we need to know what m is and we need to know what b is. So we need to find out the slope of the line that we want to write and the y-intercept of that line. So we have to take various steps to find those. Let's talk about this line that we're going to write the equation for. This line goes through -4, 6, and it is perpendicular to the graph of 2x plus 3y equals 12. Well, you just learned that perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So, if we can find the slope of 2x plus 3y equals 12, if we can find what the slope of that line is, then we can find the opposite reciprocal of that slope, and that'll be the slope of our line. So let's start by taking 2x plus 3y equals 12, and let's determine what m is for this equation. The easiest way to do that is to write it in slope-intercept form. So let's rearrange this equation into slope-intercept form. Let's subtract 2x from both sides. 3y equals -2x plus 12. Let's divide everything by 3 to get y alone. Y equals -2/3 x plus 4. So this is the same equation that's up here. It's just in a different form. So we can see that the slope of this equation is -2/3. So the slope of the equation that we want to write has to be perpendicular to this one. So it's got to be the opposite reciprocal of this one. Therefore, the slope of our line is +3/2. The slope of our line is the opposite reciprocal of the slope of the line given, because these lines are perpendicular. Okay? All right, now we know what the slope is. We have a point, -4, 6. There's an x and there's a y, and we have m. X is -4, y is 6, because that was given, and now our slope is 3/2. Let's solve for b. Y equals mx plus b, so we know 6 equals 3/2 times -4/1 plus our unknown. Let's simplify. 6 equals -12/2 plus 6, plus b. Here we go. -12/2 is -6, so let's add 6 on both sides. So 12 equals b. All right. Now we know m and we know b, so we can write our equation. Y equals 3/2 x plus 12. This is the equation of a line that goes through -4, 6 and is perpendicular to the graph of 2x plus 3y equals 12. Okay, here we go. Number 5. We're going to do this one together. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through 4, 7 and is perpendicular to the graph of y equals 2/3 x minus 1. Okay, well, in this problem, again, we want to write an equation in slope-intercept form. That's y equals mx plus b. And we want to write an equation of a line that goes through 4, 7 and is perpendicular to the graph of, and they give us this equation. If two lines are perpendicular, we know that their slopes are opposite reciprocals of each other. Okay? This time, they gave us the equation in slope-intercept form, so we can just look at this and know what the slope is. The slope of this line is 2/3. The line we want to write is perpendicular to this line, so it has a slope that is the opposite reciprocal of 2/3, so I know my slope is going to be -3/2 for my equation. In this problem, we didn't have to determine the slope because it's given to us in slope-intercept form, okay? In the prior problem, number 4, they gave us this equation in standard form and we had to rewrite it to determine the slope. This was way easier because they gave us the slope in slope-intercept form, so we can detect the slope way easier, okay? All right, so now we want to solve for b. So x is 4, y is 7, m is -3/2. Go ahead and solve for b. Pause the video now. Okay, so the equation that is perpendicular is y equals -3/2 x plus 13. Okay. Number 6 on your own. Write the equation in slope-intercept form for a line that passes through 4, -1 and is perpendicular to the graph of 7x minus 2y equals 3. Notice that they did give us that equation in standard form, so you're going to have to work through to determine its slope. All right, so pause the video. Try this one. Come on back and check to see if you were able to write the equation. Please check your work. Your equation should read y equals -2/7 x plus 1/7. These two lines are perpendicular to each other. Okay?